My studio was never in my mind. I never thought of it as a ethnic minority studio, not at all. I just got the best people I could. Um, a lot of creative leaders from different cultures, complete divas. I loved it. I love creatives. They all had their own brands and own passions and their own signature, as I said. Every single person in my team had, for over a decade usually, had their own brand status, selling their own items or teaching or whatever, and had developed their own style. And I brought that into my projects, and I completely platformed them, talked about them, told everyone, recommended them to other companies, made sure that they got a good salary when people were trying to screw them over, encouraged them into academia, into other types of work that they wanted to do. That's how, and that's great. That's great for me, because then when they, some of them hadn't maybe done my kind of work before, um, and it was a stepping stone to greater things. And then they could say, Bushra Burge helps me, or I worked on her project, and they go on to be creative leaders themselves. I always found or attracted the best people. They could have been, black, Muslim, gay, old, career changers, whatever. But to be the best people, they themselves had completely their own, path that they'd already, portfolio of amazing work, and was celebrated. Some of them were more polite than others, and we only ever sort of argued over creative differences, as you'd expect from creatives. If you have ever done anything with creatives in a in a mutual fashion, not in a dictatorial fashion, actually, and you're in a team and you are brainstorming stuff and you've worked with the best creative people because that's what you've attracted, you'd all fire up different ideas. You'd argue over silly things. You might get even rude comments about stuff that say I really love bright colored psychedelic prints in my work. It suits my VR work. It might not be something that I always wear, of course, but for the kind of work I was doing, it's what you do, because it's it's backlit work, and it needs to be, and when it's projected it would be washed out. You wouldn't get neutral tones. You don't really get neutral tones in in digital backlit work. You just don't. It's not something I'd wear necessarily, though I have worn psychedelic colors, but it's a specific type of thing that I translated into different media, including print. Okay. And I developed that, and I kept it of that color to be, costume presented in an immersive experience, which is projected. You couldn't do it in any other way. Now, if you had done any of that kind of work, you would know that only certain colors would translate across different medium, including print to projection. It's if you had ever been interested in that work, you'd know that. So say Freed, he was always like, I really don't like the prints. I really don't like the prints. And I just used to laugh. He helped on pattern cutting. He's an exceptional designer, print as well. Probably, he's an amazing designer. He's very sculptural. He's exactly the person I wanted to work on, sampling and making the stuff up. It's unbelievable. It was funny though, because he would be like, I don't like the prints. And I'm like, it's my project. You do, in your own studio, don't have psychedelic prints, fine. But my stuff, for the stuff that he worked on, had psychedelic prints, because I wanted it to be, and also because it was showcasing my studio. I knew, photographed, I needed everything to be cohesive. And a lot of it was for photo shooting. As we know, if you've worked in fashion, you have a lot of visually aesthetic work. Yeah, I had dark matter and I needed stuff in contrast to that. That's the way creative studios work. We are divas and we work with divas and we have creative differences, and some people don't understand what we're doing. Some of the work that I do is wearable but not scalable. They are statements. They are statements of it's a narrative statement of visual culture. Simple as that. So I could talk about it. I could go up on stage and in front of 1,000 people, and you could have a big screen of my psychedelic work across textile to projection, and it could be projected around the whole place, and I could be wearing it, and it would look, it would be cohesive. And you could take a photo of it and share it. This is the way, and you could put it on a VR headset and it would look the same, and you'd be like, oh, that print, that VR scene is on the print that Bushra is wearing, that she designed on a garment which she employed Fareed Akmal to create, for instance, as a costume which everyone can see. Now that's my studio work of my expression, of my narrative, of how I think. Holistic approach. By the way, it's all organic cotton and water-based prints. That's my studio work, and that's the strategy. Now I know that another creative person would not have the same vision or design philosophy. I'm a diva about my work. Of course, it's my work. It's not your work, it's my work. I get to do whatever I want in terms of my work, don't I? You don't get to say a thing. I get to be a diva about my work. All creative people are divas. It's not for other people to worry about what I do creatively, is it? It's not for other people to say what's good taste or bad taste. They don't know the message I'm giving. By the way, my work aesthetically and creatively is beautiful as well. And that was one of the criticisms. How come if you're doing artwork and you're being edgy, why is it so pretty? It's not real. It's not really a statement, is it, if it's so pretty? That's one of the things. And I'm like, you know what? The fact that it's so feminine and technical as well is a statement of feminism. It's a statement of feminism. It really is. That I can personally do beautiful work which is technological. Men can't do the work I can do. Men cannot do the work I can do. They just can't do it. I'm sorry, but they that's where I can put a line of, I'm a woman, I can do this pretty work in a technological way with technological tools. As a man, I'm not a man. They can't do it. They can't do my work. That must be really upsetting, because these say someone from LA wants to copy my work and they're a bimbo and they're like, well, I'm not going to learn how to do the technologies, so I'm going to go and try and find people to do it. It's obviously mostly 90% men. The few women have their own styles and do their own thing, and they're probably like, I'm not going to go near these bimbos because they're like really horrible bullies and bitches. Why would I want to hang around with them? And then you've got all the guys who are like, I'll take the money, and they're like, will you do some work for me? And the guys are like, I'm just gonna mess with them because they're obviously stupid, and that's what's happened, hasn't it? Will you do some work for me? Do you know how I speak to tech guys? I'm like, right. Guess what I've come up with? Look at this. I made this at home. And I'm like, you didn't plug that in, did you? Did your house blow up? So that's usually my conversation with my engineers. Or, hey Fareed, look at this print. I've got it all over Ravensbourne. I've taken 10 tables and put all my fabric across 10 tables because I've had it all printed. Fareed comes in and is like, And I've spent like £1,000 on this, by the way, Fareed. I'm so excited. I've spent all like the last few weeks developing these prints and getting them printed. Fareed comes in and is like, I don't really like it. You'll learn to love it, Fareed, once you're cutting it. I don't really like it. So that's the conversation you have with creative and tech leaders. And yeah, it's a funny thing. You never do this. You never do that. You never do that to get a tech guy or a tech girl to do anything, because they're just going to be looking at you going, "Are you for? Are you a twat?" So I better organize this stuff because I'm going to see Persia soon.